Hey, let me tell you something. I have to wear a hoodie in here every day. Uh, yeah, get Rick. At least he can do is feed you, right? If he keeps you an extra hour, um, that's all good. It's all good. All right, all right, guys. National Signing Day, culmination of a lot of hard work. Certainly, what a group of recruits here and families. Just that chose the University of Florida. And all the things that come with that. Ton of respect for the belief that they have in what we're building here. Certainly a blessing to welcome such a talented group, but also a group that's got character. Really thankful for this group. And I think if you're into rankings, to have a top 10 class in the first year, just really proud of our staff and all the hard work that went into that. Time will tell if our evaluations were spot on. This is where it all starts, though, right? It starts with evaluation and recruitment. Really proud of the staff, all parts of the organization. It really takes a team. Operations, personnel, on-campus recruiting, the equipment staff. Gator Maid does a fantastic job. It's a big part of what we do in recruiting, creative media, video. Can't thank the Hawkins Center enough for, and we have a number of professors that contribute. And the UAA pilots, always got to give them a shout out. They certainly make life easy this time of year. I'm thankful for our administration, the resources that they've provided, the infrastructure that we've been able to build, the university community, the Gainesville community. I'm going to thank a number of vendors, just talking to Katie, Bree, and Sierra about the event planning part. We had a number of vendors that helped us out. Keith Watson, Tailgate Guys, Hotel Elio, Sonny's Barbecues, Spurrier's Restaurant, Alpha Lit and Hennessy Events, the Swamp Restaurant, Exclusive Eats, Tosh Events, Mexi, Cocina Food Truck, Mr. JB's Wings and Things, Swamp Religion Food Truck, Prime and Pearl Restaurant, Upper Crust Bakery, Mama Sweet's Blessings, and last but not least, Jack's Black Car Service, right? So a lot of people contribute to what we're trying to do here. Great group. I know y'all have individual questions about this group, but, we'll add this group to the core group of veterans that we've got coming back. We'll continue to work in January and certainly in February, evaluate all the players that are available. Still got some work left to do, but couldn't be more proud of the staff and humbled by this group and their trust in us. What questions we got here?
Welcome, Jack.
Let's start with your quarterback. Obviously, Jaden, recruit fans followed for a long time. You guys put in a lot of work to make that commitment happen. Talk about the process of recruiting him and then what he brings to the quarterback room.
Yeah, I can't compliment Jaden enough relative to who he is as a person, as a leader, his character. Jaden's a guy who came here, fell in love with the University of Florida, and really connected with a lot of people here, and it was sincere and certainly comes from an unbelievable family. His mom, his dad, his sister, just nothing but respect for them and the young man that they've raised. So, had a fantastic senior year, made a huge playoff run, came up a little short in the state title there, but just phenomenal run there as a senior. That's always a good sign, I think. So, one of the more highly regarded quarterbacks in the country. I think a ball really jumps out of his hand. He's a junkie. He loves the game. He's all about the work. I think he's got a good, sturdy frame that we can add weight to. But just been very impressed with him and his approach. Certainly excited that he's going to be here January 8th, and he's coming down to play an all-star game here soon in the state, and, we'll come right over. So look forward to working with him.
And then obviously he made an initial decision to another school. How did you and your staff just work through that, not let that be something that deterred you from continuing to come after him?
I think we felt like the connection was real. We felt like there was something there. I think we were really close, and then obviously a lot goes into these decisions. But certainly as time went on, we were consistent there, and I think the things that there was common ground, and I think the connection was real. So just think there's a high level of trust on both ends there, and I'm really excited about what he's going to bring to our team.
4 to 5, probably depending on the year, guys in that room. I think that just gives you 3. How aggressively do you get in the transfer portal to fill out the quarterback room?
Yeah, there's no question we anticipate adding a player in that room through the portal. And we like to definitely have 4 scholarship players. We do intend to add a preferred walk-on as well, in that room, to give us 5 players for this spring and next year, right? So, and really feel good about that, situation. So, all those guys will be able to be here for the entire off-season program, which would be a big deal. So, but I definitely anticipate taking another player.
The 3 receivers at Mizell, Wilson, is it Gene or Jean? Andy Gene?
Yeah,
Gene? I didn't know if it was a French pronunciation. So, yeah, there you go. So what are their skill sets? Can you kind of break down each guy?
Well, Trey Wilson is, I think, one of the more dynamic kind of slot, run-after-catch, returner, just a very explosive, instinctive player. I mean, he does some really unique things on tape relative to adjusting to the ball, run-after-catch. He's dynamic. You can throw an intermediate short pass to this guy. He's a one-play touchdown player, right? And, he also played both ways. He played corner, and he was fantastic there, too. He's tough. You're really excited about what he can, I think he's one of these players, very polished. He'll bring a lot to our team right away. So, Aiden Mizell is 6'1.5". He's probably up to 170 plus pounds, and just verified speed. We're talking about elite speed. Both parents were track athletes here at the University of Florida. And this guy plays the game the right way. He was injured this year. Obviously, he missed the majority of the year, but he's a tough guy, plays the game that way. Very explosive player in the vertical throw game and run after catch. But this is a really unique athlete. He's going to run track here as well. He's one of the best 400-meter guys in the entire country, and certainly I think he ran 10.6 100 meters this past spring as a junior, right? So we're talking about elite speed. Got character, very bright, just an unbelievable family. And he's got, a little brother and little sister. I mean, they're just phenomenal people. And they, it means something to him to be at the University of Florida, and you certainly can appreciate that. So he's going to bring a lot to the table. Andy Gene, I think, is another player, 6'1", a little bit bigger, 192 pounds. This guy can run the route tree. This guy has unique acceleration. He can really eat up the coverage. He can get behind you. And I respect Andy, just his attitude and approach to life. He's a blue-collar guy. He's a worker. Really a lot of respect for his family. They work extremely hard. Haitian background, and just, really respect what they're about, who they are as a family. So I think all 3 of those guys are, obviously Trey's dad was an NFL player. I mean, these are really good people and fantastic football players. I think 3 of the best receivers in the entire country.
To see them. Are any of them going to be early enrollees?
2 of the 3, yeah. Aiden and Andy will be here early.
Overall, how many you expect?
We right now we're at 20, right? So we'll have 20 players that'll start early.
You've said in the past that when Florida's had success, it started internally in the state with recruiting. How do you assess the performance that you all did with in-state recruiting this time?
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I think that, if you look at the group, we definitely, used an inside-out approach. We obviously branched out a little bit, with the quarterback and obviously into Georgia and Alabama. But I think the majority of the players being Florida players, it's one of the reasons why this is a great job, Now, obviously, there's a lot of others out there we'd like to have too, right? But I do think that this group reflects our philosophy, if that makes sense, and certainly the history of championship teams at the University of Florida. And I think overall, in general, when you look at the numbers.
Your thoughts on Kelby Collins and the defensive line class as a whole, and how much that was identified as an area of need when you came in here?
Yeah, no question. Some really unique players when you look at this group. Kelby being, I think, one of the, you just turn the tape on, one of the more polished, ready-to-play players in the country, just fundamentally advanced, 6'4", 260 pounds, and really a violent player, plays with effort. He's comes from an unbelievable family, just his mom and dad, their character, their competitors. He's been raised. That might have been the cleanest house I've ever been in. Okay, I think sometimes that's an indicator of things. But Kelby's mom and dad got a younger brother, his grandma. I mean, they're just awesome, salt of the earth. And he's a reflection of them, and certainly he's a leader. He's been a leader in this class, and certainly he's going to be here in January, and a guy that I think is in prime position to be a difference maker. So he's got some leadership traits, and, he's a hard worker and a guy that I think is, it's a big deal for him to be a Gator.
What are you getting this program in Trayon Webb, and having two, running backs that already played a good bit this season? How much potential do you think that room has moving forward?
Yeah, no, I think Trayon, to me, what stands out about Trayon is the instincts, the vision. He's at running back. Oftentimes, I think it's about production. And he's been running the ball for a long time. He's kind of a legend there. In Duval, coming up, he's always been a guy, put that ball under his arm, he produces. I was pleased with how physical he played. He's a tough guy. He's played through some injuries in the past. He's been a part of a winning program. I think you can never overlook that. And a guy that I think has got a little bit of an edge to him. He catches the ball well. Couldn't be more excited about Trayon. He'll be here early as well.
When it comes to recruiting the state of Florida, how much knowledge do you think you and your coaching staff gain just from what it takes that can benefit you moving forward into next year?
Yeah, no, I think, and I would think that's reflected in every part of what we do. Year one, you learn a lot. And I think you get familiar with your product, but you also get familiar with your competition, how to present your product better, what works, what doesn't work. I think we continue to get more efficient, more effective in all parts of what we do, but certainly recruiting that dynamic, that calendar year, what that looks like, anticipating what's coming next. We're going to be, just right now today, you think about where we were at this time last year. We're light years ahead, so I think it's a great question.
Secondary class and just what they bring to the table. It seemed like some guys you had to maybe hang on to at the end. There are a lot of schools coming after them, but just what do you get from a cornerback standpoint, and obviously some guys that can play nickel and safety?
Yeah, very versatile group, just kind of go down the list. Jordan Castell is a 6'2", 200-pound player, that plays corner, but, I think is going to start in the safety room. I thought he really improved as a tackler as a senior. We had him in camp, the height, the length, he can cover. You go in that school, he is the guy, right? The principal, the teachers, the counselors, his mom is an unbelievable person, obviously a great story with his, just tough dynamic with his dad and all that happened, but just really a guy that I think is unique, just love to be around him, so I thought he had a great senior year, and, to be 6'2", 205 and move around like he does, I think is a big deal. Sharif Denson is, when you go around the area, and you visit different high schools, every coach talks about Sharif Denson, and the competitor he is. He's a matchup player. He can play corner, he can play star. He is a competitor. We had a chance to observe him in the 7-on-7 competition. Obviously, both of his parents being University of Florida folks, just cares about the place. And I think a very smart player that comes from a great culture there at Bartram Trail. He's going to bring a lot to our team, mature and ready to go, So he is an early enrollee. Jakeem Jackson, I think, is probably one of the more talented players in the class, just relative to he's got a high ceiling. Receiver, moved to corner. I originally evaluated him as a receiver. We had him on the receiver board. He makes the move. He runs 10.9 as a junior at 6'1.5", 185 pounds. Two-way player in some games as a high school player. Put on a show as a senior. One of the best players in the state, in my opinion. And really a guy this time last year, not a lot of people talking about the guy. So height, length, verified speed, and mom and dad are awesome. He's got a history of athletes in his family, a lot of track background, so they know what it's like. He knows how to work. Great program there that made a run in the playoffs. Dejon Johnson, I think, is a very unique player for his size, plays corner, very physical, can make a play on the ball. 6'1", close to 190 pounds, and a guy that, you put him up there and he can put his hands on you. He's a great impress coverage. I think he's instinctive. He's a great tackler, and he makes plays on the ball. So had a phenomenal year there. Bryce Thornton would be the last player on the list. And if you want to just go watch a highlight tape, go watch his highlight tape, right? This guy's he's 5'10", but he's, close to 200 pounds, 198 pounds, big features. His mother was an athlete, basketball family. You go in this guy's school, this guy's, everybody loves Bryce. He's got an unbelievable smile, just brings great energy. Played through some injuries, tough, played, and another player that comes from a great culture where they've won, they overachieve. The coaching staff there to get what they got out of their team this year. They lost a ton of players. Really, really impressed with Bryce, not only the production as a player, but just his demeanor, and he's another early enrollee.
To identify a guy like Kelby as gettable when he's in the backyard of a certain program, how did you guys make that connection early and stick it out?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've got a handful of staff members that are from there. There was a connection early. Just within that area. I'd be lying to you if I didn't think it was an uphill battle the entire time, but we just kept coming back, and there was a sincere, it's like, okay. We've got a grading scale that we use. Kelby Collins is a phenomenal player, and it worked, and I think, again, it's another one of those situations where they come here, they connect with all the people. There's common ground there, and they've, it just worked. So, and I think Kelby sees opportunity, and he's a guy, he's willing to be different, and I think that's what it takes sometimes. So, you think about that defensive line class, I'm excited about that group. Gavin Hill is a local player, 6'3", he's up to 275 pounds. Unique in that he played some tight end in the past. I thought his senior tape was special. He played with his shoulder, tough as nails. Obviously Coach Whittemore runs a great program over there. They made a great run in the playoff. You know, he's a Gator through and through, right? There's just a different level of passion that he's going to bring. I do think Cameron James is one of the more impressive athletes in the class, 6'5.5", 260 pounds, and former basketball player turned football. And I think he has a high ceiling. I thought really, and you know, can't compliment that family enough. Their approach to recruiting, just all about all the right things. Just really enjoyed getting to know him and his family. Excited about Cameron being mid-year. You know, I just think his upside is tremendous. Yeah, Will Norman is one heck of an athlete for 6'3.5", 300 pounds. You know, I mean, former basketball player, turned football, was at IMG, went back home for his senior year. This guy could play on the edge at that size. You know, really unique traits. I think his best football's in front of him. Lights up the room when he walks in. He's got great personality about him. His mom's a great lady. You know, that really excited about that group. Obviously, we've got others, you know, that will join them, but that's a good group of defensive linemen. Certainly, you know, if you're going to be good, you got starts up front.
How have you guys learned, I guess, in this past year in the state and just this navigating name, image, likeness when it comes to recruiting both at the high school level and at the college level?
Well, I think there's no question it's been one of the challenges of the year, you know, if that makes sense, because it's new, right? I think that, and you're creating your system, if that makes sense. You know, it's not like a lot of what we do, we've been around before. You know, we've worked at some of the better places in the country. We spent a lot of time researching that, refining that. A lot of what we did at Louisiana, you know, you bring it here and you hit the ground running. And then there's certain things that are new to college football, NIL, the portal, you know, and those are the strategies and what your approach is going to be, I think, continues to evolve and be fluid. But we've done a tremendous amount of work on it, you know, and certainly I think we've made a lot of progress and pleased with where we're at and the direction there, and continues to be a really good thing for the University of Florida. But definitely a dynamic, I think every college football coach would tell you, just adds a variable to the game. But it's another part of your product, right? And certainly I think we've done a great job. We can't compliment our administration, our alumni. We've, you know, put a lot of smart people in a room and come up with a great plan there. So I'm excited about that part.
Go to the back here.
Jake Rongwell, WCJB. You were talking about Gavin Hill, but you also brought in Jaden Robinson. How important was it to keep recruiting around the Gainesville area as a whole?
Yeah, it's a great question. And Jaden's one of my favorite players in the class. You know, Jaden's a guy that, you know, you watch his junior tape, he's playing safety. You know, he's playing apex. You know, he's kind of out there in space. He shows up out here at 7-on-7 camp, and we get him at 6'5", 221. You know, he's kind of grown into his body. They played him at will linebacker in the camp, and we had a chance to watch him. It became pretty evident that he could play linebacker, right? So, you know, comes from a great program, great area. I think he's got, you know, there's a certain passion that comes with being from the area, if that makes sense. So as many of those guys that pass the evaluation that we can get on our team, the better. And I think that if you look back at the history, when Florida's been good, they've had the better players in the surrounding areas have come here to play. So we want to continue that trend. Jaden's another guy that has a phenomenal family. You know, mom, dad, his grandmother, I mean, really good people and certainly a lot of fun to be around. So, Jaden Robinson, I think he scored a defensive touchdown 7 weeks in a row in high school football. Think about that for a second. 7 weeks in a row, this guy scores a defensive touchdown. That's hard to do, right? So, very instinctive player. He's got a knack, tough. Excited about him being here early. Certainly got a critical need there at inside backer, and he's going to help that.
Do you think are ready to come in and contribute right away?
Time will tell. I don't necessarily think sometimes as a coach, you think some are ready and you think some aren't, and it ends up being different. I think one thing I would say about this group as a whole is I do think there is some awareness, there's some maturity there. I think they're all bright. I think they all come from great, solid, stable situations at home. I think that helps. The other thing that's going to help is you're going to have 20 players that start in January, right? And I think that translates to more reps and more teaching and more opportunity to get orientated to the university and just life in general in college, right? So, but I do think that there'll be a number of this group, they're going to have to earn it, and I think very competitive group that looks forward to trying to do just that.
We'll finish with Zach Goodall.
As it goes, I think there were a handful of prospects that considered Florida up until the end, but ended up choosing elsewhere. With that in mind, do you feel as though you guys were able to address all of your pressing needs, or is there still work to be done here over the next month and a half or so?
Yeah, no, I think, we're going to continue to be aggressive. We'll evaluate every player that's left over. Typically about 85% of the players will sign early. Last year, we were able to add a handful of players in February. Certainly the portal presents some opportunities between now and school starting. So we've got a number of spots left here, and we'll continue to add players. Who did I not talk about? TJ Searcy. Yeah, I'm going to talk. Yeah, Aaron Gates. Aaron Gates, there you go. Let me say this about Aaron Gates. Aaron Gates was the one member of this class that was committed when we arrived, I think, right? And, man, I can't tell you how much respect I have for AG, and just who he is as a competitor. My brother's team plays against his team, right? So I can remember my brother called him in the summer and saying, Gates is a problem, right? So plays both ways, returner, DB, receiver. Got injured as a senior, but, his parents probably have more, the wisdom, right? I'm a guy who's raising a 10, 8, 6-year-old. But when I'm with them, man, I'm asking them questions because just so much respect for who they are and their son and what their family's about. But Aaron Gates is a worker. He's relentless. He's in the process of rehabbing right now. Aaron Gates is going to make the Gators better, on the field. But I think just his presence as the character, the work ethic, the focus, the drive. He's a very unique person. So TJ Searcy is someone I did not mention earlier, but probably one of the freakier dudes in the group, 6'5 1/4", 250 pounds plus, probably 260 now. This guy played, tight end, outside linebacker as a junior, played more of a 4-3 end as a senior. Unique movements for this size now, and a very disruptive player. His mom's an incredible lady. His brothers are, just made some great memories with his family visiting. This is a really great kid and one that we're excited about. He enrolls early. This offensive line group, I'm really excited about this offensive line group. Starting with Najee. Najee's a guy who's been at IMG for 3 years, right? It's one of the more physically ready. Did a great job this offseason. I thought he really changed his body in this past offseason, played great as a senior. Just great presence about him. Always got a smile on his face. You go around the IMG campus, just the way people talk about him, the respect that they have for him. Great family, and certainly he'll be here early. And a guy, you know, those IMG guys, it's almost like they've been at college already to some degree. So I do think Rod Kearney, you know, Roderick is, if you want to turn film on and say, okay, who's got the best tape, okay, I would argue Roderick Kearney's film is some of the most impressive tape any offensive lineman in the country. You know, this guy's a really unique player. He's driven, he's focused, he's got discipline, he's always doing the extra, very bright. He's got an edge about him. His mama's a phenomenal lady. Just a great family there. Really enjoyed them. Bryce Lovett is 6'5", 350 pounds probably, and Bryce is a very young for his age, probably should be a junior, you know, still very much growing. You know, I thought his senior film was really impressive, and certainly he's a guy as he gets in the program and grows a little bit, and I think he's got a bright future in front of him. So 3 good ones there, and hopeful to add some more. But I think that's pretty much it. Is there anybody we left out there? Got them all?
Yeah, because I wanted to ask about the in-state focus. Obviously, it's important to kind of recruit in your backyard. I think we talked about this before, but 13 to 20, and then you had 3 from Georgia. Just how important is it to mine those areas?
Yeah. I mean, I think you talk about sustainability, right? Proximity to players, you know, really focusing on your radius. I think it helps the evaluation process because you get more exposures to the kid, to the family. They get more exposure to your staff at the University of Florida. So the more times we can get them here, I think that helps inform them of how special this place is, but also I think it helps us evaluate players, you know. So, you know, I do believe that Florida's a national brand and we can recruit anywhere. We proved that. Georgia's a state, you know, Florida's got 275 Division I players a year, so does the state of Georgia. You know, Carolinas are nearby, Alabama's nearby. Kind of consider that the core area. You know, you think about national championship teams. In the last 13 years, 66% of the rosters come from those 5 states, right? So that's why this is a good job, right? So the key is each individual player is its own entity. You got to evaluate. We're looking for the right, you know, mindset, wired the right way, the right character, you know, and then also think we're big into the height, length, verified speed, traits, functional movement, instincts, production. I mean, we're about as thorough as you can be. So just got to keep making good individual decisions from an evaluation recruitment standpoint and, you know, get the roster where it needs to be and then continue to improve, right? I think evaluation and recruitment is separate entity, right? The minute they're step foot on campus, then we start the development process and all the things that come with that, right? So teaching football, teaching life, time management, life after football, really trying to create a place where they get, they're impacted in a positive way, equipped, educated, well-prepared, you know, connect the dots through GatorMade and really maximize this window of time that they have in their lives that really can set them up for a great future.
All right. Thank you, Coach. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Appreciate the patience.
Yeah, man.